Just One Lie, written by S.C. Hatton. Chapter 1. Wednesday, April 12th, 2023.
I am truly sorry, Mrs. Van Lynden.
The hand that is supposed to comfort her is icy cold against her own. Emily feels the urge to pull away. She pictures herself grabbing the little man with his ridiculous bow tie by his collar and hauling him towards the front door. But she's overwhelmed by the swirl of questions racing through her mind. So many questions.
A bomb?
Her voice is unsteady. It can't be. She's unable to make sense of it all. Words float through her mind caught between the possible and the impossible. This can't be happening. Things like this do not happen to ordinary people.
All the leading news channels are covering it. It's all over the internet.
She spent the entire afternoon packing her clothes in Zander's. Their cruise to the Caribbean is set to begin in just 2 days. He was only supposed to be away on a quick business trip before they set sail. 1 day, 1 night. What now?
We should probably arrange a press conference.
A press conference? Now? Really? She must speak to Zander. Where is her mobile? In her room? Or did she leave it in the kitchen before going to bed last night? Why can't she remember?
A bomb?
Apparently, she can only utter 2 words at a time, assuming A even qualifies as a word. The man in front of her narrows his eyes in frustration. He repeats the words slowly like he thinks she's mentally challenged.
The rental car was en route from Karma International Airport to the hotel when the bomb exploded.
Where is Zander now?
Zander could not have been in the vehicle that exploded. It's simply not possible. She would have known. She would have sensed it. Peter avoids her eyes. His Adam's apple bobs as he swallows. Today, the typically composed Peter Wilson isn't as calm and collected as he wants to appear. Is he concealing something? Lying? Or is he just as confused about everything as she is? The silence is deafening.
You don't know,
she states. A shot in the dark. For a moment, they stare at each other. Emily must know the truth. She desperately needs reassurance that Zander is safe. A new bride shouldn't have to bury her husband. Peter's Italian shoes squeak on the marble floor as he turns away. Where is he going? There is no escape. He stops before the sandstone hearth, fixating on the Irma Stern sketch above it. She wants to shout at him, to demand answers. Where is my husband? Only her breathing and the impatient ticking of the yellow wood clock fill the room. She looks at the artwork. In the sketch, the woman's head is resting on a pillow. Her eyes are not fixed on anything in particular. Today, however, those eyes seem different, almost somber. Emily is just about to press him further when he continues to speak.
We're still trying to piece it all together.
He then eases himself onto the couch. Emily follows.
To be honest, we don't know much.
His fingers run through his once neatly styled hair, now appearing disheveled. He seems more weary than usual. The dark circles under his eyes stark against his pale complexion. Even the lines around his mouth appear deeper. With Zander gone, running Karis Capital is clearly taking its toll. He probably knows what to do. Otherwise, Zander would have never appointed him as deputy executive officer. Zander needs her. She must make arrangements to go to Botswana as soon as possible, even if it means flying. Butterflies churn in her stomach. Breathe, Emily. Just breathe. You don't have a choice. You have to go. It will only be for a short while. She jumps up and starts pacing like a soldier. She needs to move. She needs to think.
How quickly can you make arrangements for me to get to Botswana?
She asks. Her voice quivers.
Arrangements?
Yes, Peter. Arrangements. Give me an hour or so to get ready. We are flying, aren't we?
Again, the butterflies. Focus, Emily. Think about Zander or anything else for that matter. She will have to reconsider her packing. The items in her suitcase won't suffice, especially the skimpy honeymoon attire. Maybe she should also pack a few outfits for Zander, just in case. Rubbing his hand over the back of his neck, the frown between Peter's eyebrows deepens.
I think you...
He clears his throat, pressing his hands against the couch and rising from his seat with the demeanor of a much older man.
misunderstood. Mr. Van Lynden is not recovering in the hospital at the moment.
His tone reduces her to a scolded child.
The explosion, it was an intense blast.
The words wash over Emily, each word sinking deeper, its weight slowly spreading. The burning sensation behind her eyes intensifies. Don't cry.
How sure are you about Zander being in the vehicle during the blast?
Her voice rises, shaky and desperate. She needs answers. When Peter doesn't answer immediately, she repeats her question.
Was he in the vehicle? Yes or no?
There were 3 men on the flight this morning, only 3, and the vehicle that exploded also had 3 occupants. There is a high probability that Mr. Van Lynden was in that vehicle.
Emily's nails cut into her flesh.
How can you not be sure whether he was in the vehicle?
She chokes out the words, desperately fighting the tears. What she fears is etched all over his face, visible in the somber shadows beneath his eyes.
No.
The silent plea echoes through her. Not Zander. Please, not Zander. The walls inch closer, closing in on her, almost as if an invisible hand is choking her, robbing her of breath. Desperately, she staggers towards the nearest window, her trembling fingers fumbling for the handle. She must open it. Now. She needs air. Every fiber of her being trembles. What if she suffocates before she can open it? Another hand appears, assisting her. The window slides open. A rush of cold air hits her face. With gratitude, she slowly inhales, drawing the cool air deep into her lungs.
Air.
Behind her, Peter speaks, his voice low and distant.
The bodies. We cannot identify the bodies.
Chapter 2. Thursday, April 13th, 2023. Emily nestles deeper under the covers. The room's icy chill sends shivers down her spine, and goosebumps appear on her bare arms. The window is wide open. Without having to look, she knows the door is closed. Her claustrophobia was gone. Not completely. Instead, it lay dormant. Open window. Closed door. Open door. Closed window. She doesn't need an expert to know why her fear has returned, tapping at the closed door and blowing through the open window. She is keenly aware of the reason behind its return. It is what it is. A window or door will stay open, even if she freezes to death. Should the chill become unbearable, she could always get an extra blanket or seek solace in Zander's warmth. The warmth of his body is a constant, like a furnace in the cold. Zander. The events of the previous afternoon chilled her to the bone. For a moment she had forgotten. Her eyes and throat start to burn. The previous night, shielded within the confines of her bedroom, she had allowed herself to release her emotions fully. She cried until there were no more tears. By the early hours of dawn, it seemed that her tears had evaporated. Maybe tears, like everything else, dry up if you don't use them. She hasn't had a reason to cry during the past 4 years. Her life was perfect. Peter didn't stay long the previous afternoon. Shortly after shattering her world with his news, he had excused himself. Her inability to show any emotion must have made him uncomfortable. Death. It follows her like a shadow at dusk. First, she lost both her parents. Then, during her final school year, her best friend. Cancer claimed her aunt. And then, someone brutally murdered Zander's parents. And now, Zander. Death may be an old acquaintance, but it's never easy. On the contrary. It reminds her that the smaller her circle of loved ones, the fewer people she has to bury. Not that she has enough people to complete a circle. Probably a dot, seeing that she keeps everyone at arm's length. Neil is all she has left. Well, Neil and Nita, of course. She sent Neil a voice note on WhatsApp. He must have picked up on her unsteady voice. His call came through seconds later, followed by a voice note when she did not answer.
I'm on my way.
Emily stopped him. She needed time to process the news alone. Time to let the storm inside her rage out. He understood. Of course, Neil would understand. He is the one constant in her life, the only person who knows her inside and out. Just as he understands her, she knows him equally well. Any moment now, he'll be at her door, at the first light of dawn. Emily lifts her head with a groan, then lets it fall back against the pillows. There were no answers at the bottom of the whiskey bottle, nor would there be answers in a second one. The half bottle of Jack Daniels helped her sleep the night before, offering a brief escape. This morning, she is paying the piper. What do you do when your entire life changes in an instant? When your perfect world shatters, and the only thing left is the fragments of what once was? A knock on her bedroom door sends a quiver through her. She clutches her head. She's just as inexperienced with drinking as she is with crying. The door creaks open. Emily squints at the woman standing in front of her in a housekeeping uniform. The black and white collared dress hugs her large frame as she approaches with purpose. Nita's face wrinkles with disdain.
Smells like a shebeen in here.
Emily struggles to sit upright, her doubts lingering about whether shebeens kept such a limited edition of Jack. Perhaps they do. She wouldn't know. She had never set foot in one. They might even boast a top shelf reserved for exclusive bottles. She wants to tease Nita and ask how a churchwoman, a respected figure in her congregation, would recognize the scent of a shebeen. Yet, the jest remains contained within her thoughts. Her sense of humor is dead and buried, alongside the remnants of her former self, extinguished during the previous afternoon's events. Nita draws back the curtains, her voice urging like one rounding up sheep.
Come, get up. No time to feel sorry for yourself.
Where were Nita's usual affection and concern this morning? Has it died as well? Nita disappears into the bathroom, and shortly afterwards, Emily can hear the sound of water running.
Get into the shower.
Nita orders, coming back into the room.
I am putting the kettle on for a cup of coffee.
She sniffs again at the unpleasant smell lingering in the room.
A strong cup of coffee.
What's the use? How will a clean body and fresh mouth bring Zander back? Nothing will.
Zander is gone. Oh, my sweetheart.
Nita sits beside her, reaching out a comforting hand. Tears glisten in her eyes as she speaks.
I know it's difficult, but don't let it get you down. Life is for the living.
How do you start living again? By taking a shower?
Time heals all wounds. The pain, the longing.
A comforting hand gently strokes hers.
Before you know it, the sun will shine again. It might not be a simple journey, but as life goes on, you will learn how to cope without your beloved swan. Swan? Zander. He was your swan, your once-in-a-lifetime love.
What does a swan do when it loses its mate? Does it succumb to grief and longing? Or does it adapt to life without their soulmate? She is nowhere near ready to adapt. The doorbell's sharp ring echoes through the hallway.
That must be Neil.
Nita rises with moans and groans, smoothing out the wrinkles in her dress with her hands.
I'll get the door. That boy is always hungry. I'll most likely have to give him something to eat as well.
Nita gestures towards the bathroom.
Go shower before the water runs cold.
For a moment, Nita hesitates at the door.
It will get better. It's always darkest just before dawn.
Chapter 3. As she enters the room, Neil stands by the open window, his fox-brown hair tousled by the breeze. He bears a striking resemblance to their father, the same Roman nose and high cheekbones. Despite the 2-year age gap between the siblings, many people mistake them for twins. He hugs her. A surge of emotion overwhelms her, tempting her to break into tears, to cry until there is nothing left. Still, her rational side prevails. She lingers in Neil's embrace longer than necessary. He is all she has left now. She must control these dark thoughts. Pull yourself together, Emily. You are strong. You'll get through this,
You look a bit frazzled.
Emily says, keeping her voice steady. Every tear shoved deep down where it belongs, just as it should be.
Were you attacked by a hungry wolf on your way here?
Yep, a pack of them. All with microphones, pens, and recorders.
Journalists?
Neil nods.
It's a bloody circus out there.
Of course, the press would eventually show up. Zander was, after all, the third-generation CEO of Karis Capital, one of the top investment firms in the country. A lump forms in her throat. Zander was. Zander is no more.
Any other news?
Emily shakes her head. She should start making some calls. Find out what happened and why. Why Zander? It must be a coincidence. She can't fathom why anyone would want to harm or murder Zander. He was one of the most good-natured individuals she had ever known. Everyone loved and respected him. He was a faithful, generous, and kind person. It was impossible not to fall in love with him. Nita enters the lounge, balancing 2 mugs of coffee and a bowl of biscuits on a tray. Emily catches the smile Neil flashes at Nita as his eyes drift to the biscuits. It remains a mystery how Neil can eat that much and not gain any weight. Neil takes the tray and places it on the coffee table.
I'll make some calls.
He says, before sipping his coffee. Emily nods and tastes hers. Extra strong and bitter.
We'll need to bring Zander's body back home.
Is this the first thing she's meant to do after being informed that her husband was blown up in another country? The tears from the previous night, along with a bottle of Jack and a heavy dose of self-pity, have left no room to consider funeral arrangements yet. What would Zander have wanted? To be buried or cremated? They had never discussed it. You rarely talk about death in the first 6 months of marriage. They were supposed to have time. Years. Decades. Now, everything is upside down. Nothing is as it should be. First comes marriage, then children, and then grandchildren. That's how it's supposed to go. A funeral belongs at the end of that story, not jammed between the vows and struggling to fall pregnant. They would have taken a break, slowed things down, tried for a baby, a tiny heir or two who could carry on the Karis Van Lynden name. Death was never part of the plan. Everything is so surreal. Perhaps she should go to Botswana to get closure.
I'm going to Botswana.
Emily puts her half-empty mug down and straightens up. Yes, that is what she should do,
Why? To do what?
to be closer to Zander. Emily shrugs. Some thoughts should not be uttered out loud. Neil stands up and moves closer with long strides. His hand rests on her shoulder.
Are you sure?
She nods.
Do you really want to see him like that?
Zander is her husband. Of course, she should be able to identify his body. He always wears his wedding band. He never takes it off. Was that destroyed too? What's left of a body after an explosion? Will there be anything she can still recognize? Anything that still looks like Zander? Yesterday, when he said goodbye, he was wearing his birthday gift from the previous year, a watch with a single word engraved on the back: forever. How can forever end so quickly? Nausea rises in her, a mix of despair, misery, and the remnants of last night's whiskey.
You don't want to remember him that way, do you?
the image of Zander's burned body seared into her mind forever. She shakes her head. No, she wants to remember his smile, the warmth in his eyes, and the heat of his hands. Her gaze meets Neil's.
I need closure.
Closure. She needs to be sure he's really gone. Everything so far has been hearsay. She may already be in the initial stage of grief. Denial.
I'll clear my schedule. Give me a day or so to rearrange some appointments.
Sorry?
Somewhere along the way, she missed part of the conversation. Did Neil offer to accompany her to Botswana? He can't just drop everything and shut down his practice because his little sister needs support. He's a neurologist, respected, busy, and in demand.
I'm sure Karis Capital can arrange for us to use one of their private jets.
Neil says, like it's already settled. This is hard on him, too. He and Zander were as close as brothers.
We'll need to fly.
Fly. The words race through her mind like a whirlwind. Windows that refuse to budge. A door that slams shut and stays closed. Closed in. Trapped.
No.
He looks at her as if she has lost her mind.
No.
She says again, softer this time. Yesterday it seemed like a good idea. Today, however, the prospect feels like drowning.
I don't want to. We can drive.
Neil frowns.
It's a 16-hour journey.
We can take turns.
With a closed door and a window rolled down. Chapter 4. You have reached the voicemail of... She's been on the phone all morning. A bomb exploded. People died. The few who picked up had nothing useful to say. No one knows a thing. Emily slams her phone down. It skids across the desk and knocks against a framed photo teetering on the edge. She lunges to catch it, but it's too late. As if in slow motion, the picture frame tumbles to the ground. Glass shatters as it hits the floor. She stares at the image hidden behind the glass. It's her favorite wedding photo among the hundreds that were taken. One perfect moment. They are standing in a corner, away from the other guests, lost in their own little universe. She's smiling at him, but it's the look in her eyes that speaks volumes. The photo perfectly captures her love for Zander. How can one person love another so deeply? In such a brief period? 4 years is nothing compared to the lifetime they were supposed to have. It's all in pieces now, just like the shattered picture frame.
Emily?
Nita appears in the open doorway.
What happened?
She follows Emily's gaze, then crouches and gently picks up the broken frame.
The glass broke, but the frame survived. We can fix it.
How? Death is beyond fixing. It's forever. Final.
Emily?
Nita tries again, her voice soft and unsure. Emily opens her mouth, but the words lingering there are a lie. I'm fine. She swallows the words. She's not a liar, and she's nowhere near fine. The house feels suffocating. She needs air. Space. As Emily pushes open the sliding door, a gust of wind hits her. Exercise. She needs to move. A walk or anything, to fill the endless hours of getting nowhere. It's frustrating to keep hitting dead ends. Why does no one have answers? Surely someone must know what's happened to Zander. Between her fruitless calls and Google searches, she remembered to cancel their yacht trip with a brief email. A phone call might have prompted an explanation. She didn't have the strength to offer one. Emily takes a short walk to the gray stone security house, usually manned by Alfred. There's no sign of him. The unfamiliar faces of news-hungry wolves continue to crowd the pavement. It's no surprise Alfred isn't at his post. He must be hiding. Who would want to face an onslaught of questions? She changes direction. It's best to avoid the possibility of a stolen photo, especially if it could become tomorrow's front-page headline. She has nothing to tell the journalists, after all. A thought crosses her mind. Maybe she should confront them, put them on the spot by asking the questions. Perhaps they know something that she doesn't. Why were Zander and his colleagues targeted? Could this have been a terrorist attack? But does she really feel up to it? Now? Today? Her mind is already a seesaw of emotions. No, ambushing a bunch of journalists probably isn't a good idea. Back to her current problem: how to escape with no one noticing. Emily changes course again. She knows exactly what she's looking for. Not long after she moved in with Zander, he showed her the emergency exit. If this isn't an emergency, then what is? Now she just has to find it. It's hidden here somewhere in this sprawling garden with its golf course lawns and colorful flower beds. Behind a massive honeysuckle shrub, she spots the frame of a door. There it is. The door that opens onto a different street. She often wonders about Zander's grandfather and namesake, Alexander Karras. The old man has always struck her as a bit paranoid. Nearly every room in the house has doors that opened onto a patio, porch, or balcony, allowing access to the outside. Clearly, he hated feeling trapped. Maybe he struggled with claustrophobia as well, or just old-fashioned paranoia. Who knows? The line between the two can be blurry. She should know. Emily stares at the wooden door with its black cast-iron hinges. It looks more like art than an actual door. When was the last time anyone had felt the need to use this exit? Perhaps never. What if the door is locked? Or if the locks are rusted shut? She was worrying about nothing. Like everything else on the Van Lynden estate, the door is in perfect condition. Even the sliding lock looks brand new. It glides open without resistance, but the door itself groans like a funeral hymn as she pushes it. Peeking out, she checks the street. No one in sight. Closing the door is easier. It swings shut and vanishes into the wall, blending seamlessly with the gray facade. From the outside, it's nearly invisible. Grandfather Alexander was gifted at hiding things in plain sight. Emily turns away from the door. Where to now? Left? Right? Does it even matter? It's not as if she's heading anywhere in particular. Her legs move on their own, carrying her past lush green trees and empty streets. Fresh air. Exactly what she needs. The space between Emily and the house gradually increases. If only she could silence her thoughts for a moment. And the voice that won't stop asking, "What now?" Music would help. The sound of other people's voices echoing in her ears would be better than the noise inside her head. Her feet burn. She should have worn trainers. Her boots, unlike those in the old song, are certainly not made for walking. Still, she keeps going. At least now a different pain can distract her. Her feet will never hurt as much as her heart. Eventually, she takes a turn that leads her onto a main road. Not far away, an older woman stands beside a shaggy Yorkie. While the dog inspects every inch of the lamppost, the woman is reading a newspaper headline. Car bomb claims 3 lives. The headline screams in bold black letters. The posters repeat the news, poll after poll, as if it had been the only newsworthy event in the past 24 hours.
Tragic, isn't it?
The woman says, pointing to the poster.
According to the papers, the owner of Karras Capital was one of the victims.
She looks at Emily as if expecting an answer or a reaction. How is she supposed to respond?
So young and handsome still. Recently married. Very young wife, apparently.
The woman continues, not at all fazed by Emily's silence. 34 isn't exactly that young. Despite the cold, her cheeks are as hot as glowing coals. She wipes her damp palms on her trousers. Why is she still standing here, listening to a stranger's chatter? Just turn around and disappear into the maze of houses. That's what she wants after all, to disappear.
It takes me back to the death of my Theodore.
The woman goes on.
I can remember how I felt. completely lost and alone. The kids were all in another province or country.
This happens more often than it should. Strangers opening up, telling her things they usually wouldn't tell anyone, let alone someone they just met. She might have one of those tell me your life story faces. It has certainly been helpful in her work as a psychologist. The Yorkie is still sniffing around, lifting a leg against one side of the pole, then sniffing again.
Little Theodore was a gift from my granddaughter.
The old lady points to her little sniffing dog.
Theodore?
Her late husband? What a strange name for a dog. The woman flashes her a wide smile.
Yes, I named him after my dear Theodore. Just as fussy about food.
Having completed his business, little fluffy Theodore tugs at his leash.
Having this little one around makes all the difference.
She adds, nodding at the citizen poster.
Maybe his widow should get a dog as well.
Maybe his widow should remove herself from this conversation. The Yorkie tugs on the leash again, prompting the older woman to take a step forward. The perfect chance for Emily to make her escape.
Enjoy your walk, ma'am.
Emily says with a polite smile and a wave, then turns back toward her house. Time to head home. She should call Peter again. There might be some news. Good news, hopefully. Chapter 5. Emily steps into the house, kicks off her boots, and peels off her socks. The marble floor is cool against her tired feet.
Oh my goodness me.
Nita is breathless as she rushes over to Emily, traces of tears still visible on her cheeks.
You've disappeared into thin mist.
Into thin air, Emily silently corrects. When Nita is upset, she often gets tongue-tied and mixes up her words.
Just gone.
Nita raises her arms in the air.
I wanted to call the coppers. Where were you? Your car is still in the garage. No one saw you leaving.
She doesn't wait for a response. Instead, she steps forward and pulls Emily into a tight hug. It's tempting, so tempting, to let go, to release everything she's been holding in. If only she could bury her face in Nita's shoulder and cry. Just for a moment. Nita wouldn't ask questions. Nita would understand, but she can't. Since childhood, Emily has learned to reveal only what someone needed to see. For years, those emotional barriers have been her shield, and it must remain as such, especially now.
I went for a walk.
Nita pulls back, just enough to look her in the eye.
I needed to clear my head. The house felt suffocating.
Nita nods, but Emily isn't sure she gets it. How could anyone feel trapped in a house this big?
Mr. Wilson rang multiple times.
Well, at least something happened while she was out. Time seemed to pass more quickly when she wasn't constantly checking her watch.
I'll return his call in a minute.
I'll get some coffee.
Nita says, eyeing Emily's bare feet.
And bring your slippers.
As Emily steps into the study, her phone vibrates on the desk. The shattered photo frame and the picture are both gone. She freezes at the name flashing on the screen. Zander. A wave of mixed emotions sweeps over her, a thrilling excitement mingling with a palpable sense of relief. Zander is alive. She swipes the green button with trembling fingers, her lips forming his name silently. Any second now, she will hear Zander's voice. Her hand, gripping the phone, is numb as she brings it to her ear.
Mrs. Van Lynden.
Her knees buckle, and she sinks into the nearest chair. The voice at the other side isn't her husband's. Of course, Zander wouldn't be calling her. Telephones do not exist between the living and the dead. Peter must be calling from Zander's office.
Hi, Peter.
Her voice is dry and hoarse.
Some new information has come to light.
He's not one for small talk, a trait she could at least appreciate.
The vehicle was not a rental as we initially assumed. The hotel arranged for a driver to pick them up from the airport, courtesy of Caris Capital's booking.
What does that mean? Was the bomb planted in the car? Was it a planned attack?
There were only 3 people in the vehicle.
Peter continues.
It's confirmed that one of them was the driver.
Her mind stumbles over the math. 3 people? 1 driver?
If one was the driver, who were the others?
Is it even remotely possible that Zander wasn't in that car? Could he still be alive? But the flicker of hope dies as quickly as it sparked. If Zander had survived, he would have called her immediately. He wouldn't just disappear.
Stanley Andrews and Brandon September joined Mr. Van Lynden on the flight.
Guilt washes over her like muddy water. She'd been so lost in her own grief, her own problems, that she hadn't even once thought to ask about the others. She remembers Brandon vaguely. They met at a work function. He was around Zander's age. His wife was heavily pregnant with their 3rd daughter. What will happen to his wife and their 3 daughters now? And Stanley, with his Einstein hair, 70s mustache, and brown tweed jacket. He was supposed to retire earlier this year, but offered to stay at Karis Capital until Zander returned from their sabbatical. Stanley had been a constant visitor in their home, almost like a second father to Zander.
When will their identities be confirmed?
Let Zander be alive. Please. Let Zander be safe. Is it wrong of her to hope that her husband is the one who survived? Is it selfish to do so? Does that make her a terrible person? Or maybe just human?
I'm not sure. We've made arrangements to send their dental records for confirmation.
Dental records?
She echoes. How badly were their bodies burned if they had to be identified by dental records? Emily shakes her head, as if that could erase the image. No, she doesn't want to know.
Mrs. Van Lynden,
Peter says.
Please don't worry about anything. Karis Capital will handle all the arrangements, including the permits for importing the remains.
Importing, like cargo, as if they are nothing more than goods. Is that what we become once the last breath escapes our lungs? Something. No longer someone.
You can leave the funeral arrangements to us.
Peter continues his one-sided conversation.
Once the bodies have been identified and the authorities complete their formalities, we will proceed with embalming. That should take approximately 24 hours.
Embalming?
She repeats.
Unfortunately, it's mandatory for transporting human remains across borders. We do not have a choice in the matter.
She can't think about that now. Not while there's still the slightest possibility that Zander might be alive. 1 in 3. A 1 in 3 chance is all she has, but it's still better than accepting her husband is gone forever. Her focus narrows to one thing: getting to Botswana as soon as possible.
Peter, could you arrange access to the company jet? I need to get to Botswana, either tonight or first thing in the morning.
When Peter agrees, her stomach clenches. Now is not the time to fall apart. She has to find out what happened to Zander. Someone, somewhere, must know something. Chapter 6. Emily hesitates in front of the lift.
Dr. Neil, Fuchsia, neurologist, 5th floor.
The letters on the silver placard between the 2 elevators seem to mock her. Pressing the button should be simple. 2 steps forward, lift her arm and touch the button. But she remains frozen, unable to make the simplest of movements. It isn't the act of summoning the lift to the ground floor that unnerves her. It's what comes next that sends shivers down her spine. Trapped inside a small steel box. No windows. No open doors. What if it happens again? A woman rushes past Emily and presses the button without a second thought. That's probably normal for her, and perhaps for most. Gliding open, the elevator doors reveal the dark, gaping mouth of the beast. As the woman steps inside, she holds the door open, nodding for Emily to follow. The moment feels oddly familiar. A strange wave of déjà vu washes over her. Come on, scaredy pants, she urges herself. Just take that first step. But her legs refuse to cooperate. The woman in the lift frowns. She probably thinks Emily is crazy, and she wouldn't be entirely wrong. The woman clicks her tongue in frustration and turns away as Emily shakes her head slightly. She steps back, putting some distance between herself and the steel doors. The dragon's jaws snap shut. Sooner or later, she'll have to face it. Probably sooner. She can't let this fear control her again. Happy memories. That's what she needs. Something good to focus on, like the day she met Zander. It started just like this, with a get-yourself-together pep talk in front of an elevator. Emily avoided the mirrors in the lobby. She didn't need them to know what she looked like, windswept, soaked from the rain, and undeniably late. Accidents always come in threes. First, her phone's alarm didn't go off that morning. Then, the fuel light blinked on the moment she started her car. And now, this. Her appointment was on the 22nd floor. How would she look after climbing 22 flights of stairs? Not exactly fresh and cheerful. She was out of options. She would have to face the lift today. A glance at her wristwatch reminded her she only had 10 minutes before her appointment. Early is early, on time is late, and late is unacceptable. The lift's doors slid open. A man stood inside. He moved closer and held the door for her, gesturing for her to step inside. One of those rare, chivalrous types. She took a step forward, then another. She could do this. She had to. Don't think about the steel box that traps you once you're inside its jaws. Focus on something else. Anything else. Focus on the man. He had short, honey-brown hair and a day-old beard. His square jaw was like something out of a sculpture, and his body clearly saw more action than just sitting behind an office desk. Even ignoring the Armani suit and the Rolex gleaming on his arm, he screamed success. Perhaps she should stop staring at the man as if he were on auction, and she was ready to bid everything she had. She'd probably offer her last few bucks if it came to that. Before she knew it, Emily found herself inside the lift. The doors had closed without her even realizing it. The digital numbers climbed steadily. 5. 6. She was doing it. Conquering the lift. 10. 11. Then, without warning, the unthinkable happened. The lift jolted to a sudden stop, plunging them into darkness. A terrified scream echoed through the confined space, sounding eerily like her own strained voice. Her heart pounded faster and faster. Panic set in. It felt as if the cold metal box was swallowing the last bit of oxygen. She needed air. Now. Her hands searched blindly. Cold, hard, steel. She needed a distraction, to focus on anything but the suffocating darkness closing in around her. A song? Yes, it might help. Alanis Morissette's Ironic entered her thoughts, a horrible choice for her current situation. She couldn't breathe. Then a glimmer of light pierced through the darkness, drawing her in.
The generator should start up any second,
said the man holding the torch. A serene smile graced his lips. Her heart still raced, but not from fear this time. He moved the phone to his left hand and extended the other. His grip was firm and confident, the kind of handshake that inspired trust.
Zander.
He introduced himself. Breathless, Emily reaches the 5th floor. It must be the stairs, not her memories, but she's not entirely sure. Since that day, they had been inseparable, until about a day ago. Please, Zander, please don't leave me. Neil's receptionist greets Emily with soft eyes, full of sympathy. Clearly, she knows. Every news bulletin and every second lamppost on the way to Neil's consulting room blared the headlines. It's as if Alexander Karras van Lynden and Karras Capital are the same entity. End of the Karras era? Who inherits the Karras fortune? Are your investments still safe at Karras Capital? Trust the media to sensationalize a story, to capitalize on another's grief. The vultures never rest. That's why she used the emergency exit again and had the Uber driver pick her up a few streets away.
You can go in.
The receptionist says gently.
Dr. Neal doesn't have any patience with him now.
Neil is tapping on his phone, all hunched over when she enters. His consulting room is Spartan. A desk, a landline, 3 chairs, and a small bookshelf with medical textbooks. On top of the bookshelf stands a thirsty succulent on the verge of withering away in its clay pot. When will people stop gifting Neil plants?
Emily?
He looks up, surprised.
Any news?
She nods, takes a seat, and briefly tells him about Peter's call.
There were only 3 people in the car,
She says.
one of whom was the driver. That's already been confirmed.
She looks past Neil to the certificates on the wall.
And Zander?
Emily shrugs, her gaze lingering on a new photo sitting on his desk. Ivanka. This is new. She didn't think his relationship with the blonde would last this long. Apparently, she had been wrong.
3 people from Karis Capital were on that flight.
She continues, ticking the names off on her fingers.
Zander, Stanley, and Brandon September, a production manager.
Neil stands and walks to the door.
Don't!
Emily shouts, stopping him. She crosses the room and opens the aluminium-framed window. He waits until she opens another before gently closing the door.
I thought it was gone.
He says.
It was,
Emily replies as she sits back down.
but now it's back.
For a moment, Neil studies her face. She knows he won't bombard her with questions. Tactless probing isn't his style,
I talked to the detective in charge of the case earlier.
says Neil, shifting the conversation.
Malefe.
And?
He shakes his head and sits down again.
Everything is still speculation. No evidence to suggest it was a targeted attack. Nothing links it to Zander or Karis Capital.
The question that has led her to Neil's consulting room lingers on her tongue, demanding to be asked. She knows she has to muster the courage. She needs to see the expression on Neil's face when she finally asks the question. And regardless of the answer, she needs to hear it in person.
Neil?
She says softly, waiting until his gaze meets hers.
Do you think Zander is still alive?
His response is immediate.
I truly hope so.
Neil frowns as his phone rings.
Excuse me. Fuchsia, hello.
He answers. A moment later, a broad smile replaces the frown on his face.
Naveen, my man, how are you? Haven't spoken in ages.
Naveen Reddy is one of Neil's old varsity buddies. She did not realize they were still in contact. The last she had heard, Naveen was working somewhere in Africa. Naveen must have said something because Neil's entire body stiffens. Paleness creeps across his jaw.
Are you sure?
He looks at Emily before he stands up and walks out of his consulting room without another word. A chill settles within her, nesting deep. Something's happened. Something Neil doesn't want her to know. She wants to jump up, move closer to the door and eavesdrop on the conversation, but her legs are too weak to support her. Her body remains frozen, but her mind races, fixating on a single word: Zander. When Neil returns a few minutes later, he seems to have regained some of his composure. Only slightly, though, because Neil's thoughts are usually written all over his face. He has the world's worst poker face.
Everything okay?
Emily asks as Neil returns to his seat. Her tone gives no hint of the storm raging within her.
Yes, of course.
He says, but his eyes, avoiding hers, tell a different story. Obviously, Naveen's call had upset Neil. But why? Surely it couldn't have anything to do with Zander. She's burning to ask, but instinct tells her she won't get a straight answer.
How's Naveen?
Sorry?
His mind is clearly elsewhere. Neil's hands fumble, first with his phone, then a pen, and back to the phone. When Emily touches his hand, he jolts.
Talk to me, Neil.
She begs. He meets her gaze. She recognizes that look. She's seen it countless times before. His protective older brother look. Emily takes a deep, steadying breath. There is only one reason Neil would want to protect her.
Have you heard anything about Zander?
She blurts out.
No.
He answers too quickly.
Why would anyone contact me about Zander? They would rather call you, or someone at Karis Capital, like Peter.
A knock at the door interrupts Neil's rambling. Relief floods his face as his receptionist appears in the doorway.
Doctor's next appointment is here.
Thank you, Janet.
Neil murmurs, offering a quick apology. Emily senses an urgency in his demeanor to get rid of her. Is he afraid she might unearth the truth?
We need to talk.
She insists.
Yes, later.
He replies as he escorts her to the door.
I'll call you.
An awkward silence trails Emily as she descends the stairs. Neil has never lied to her before. Today was the first time. Chapter 7. Emily pokes at the chicken curry with her fork. Like everything Nita prepares, it looks and smells wonderful, yet she can't bring herself to take a single bite. How do people do it? How do they act normal when everything inside is raw and broken? Zander wasn't just her husband. He was her other half, her better half. Where is he now? Is his body, or what's left of it, lying alone in a cold, dark room somewhere? Or maybe, just maybe, Zander is still alive, alone and seriously injured. Emily stares at her plate, which seems to disappear into the massive dining room table. Killed or fatally injured. Those are the only reasons Zander wouldn't call her. The sliding door to the porch stands open. Twilight seeps inside, painting long shadows across the walls. Another day has passed. Another day without answers. Emily has never been the damsel in distress type, sitting around, waiting for a night to rescue her. She's always been a woman who takes action, who makes things happen. That's what she needs to do now. But she lacks a plan. If only she could switch on the part of her brain that usually comes up with solutions and shake off this paralyzing sense of helplessness. She must go to Botswana. She has no idea what she'll do once she gets there. Anything has to be better than being alone in this huge house, with only her spiraling thoughts for company. Her mind is a dangerous place right now. What else can she do? Returning to her psychology practice isn't an option. With their planned sabbatical year, she had already handed her clients over to colleagues. They don't need her. And even if they did, what would she do? Collect a handful of sorry for your loss condolences? She's already received more than enough sympathy calls and messages today. From colleagues, clients, and even people she hasn't spoken to in years. How is she supposed to help others with their problems when her own feel as insurmountable as Mount Everest? Especially now that her claustrophobia has resurfaced. It has always been there, lurking beneath the surface, ready to pounce with a sharp-toothed grin every time life knocks her down with another death notice. Beep beep. Her phone vibrates on the table. A WhatsApp message. It's a video clip from an unknown number. Her thumb hovers over the block button, but something forces her to pause. The thumbnail shows a deserted road with a single white vehicle in the distance. She taps the unknown number to check the profile. No photo. Just a gray circle. No name either. What grabs her attention is the dialing code, +267. Isn't that Botswana's dialing code? Who does she know in Botswana? Zander. With trembling fingers, Emily taps on the video clip. It seems to have been recorded on a dashboard camera. The white four-wheel drive vehicle ahead has a sticker on the rear window, maybe a business name, but the image is too blurry to make out any details. The recording car slows down drastically, increasing the distance between itself and the white vehicle. Why? There are no other cars in sight, no traffic. A radio plays softly in the background. The tune is barely audible. She strains to recognize it. Then, the radio's volume is cranked up to a deafening level. Words blare over the speakers.
Here comes the...
It repeats, over and over, building tension. Goosebumps erupt on her arms.
Here comes the boom!
A cloud of flames engulfs the white vehicle. Smoke and debris fill the screen, followed by a hissing silence. Then the video clip abruptly ends. Black. Emily's phone slips from her trembling fingers, splashing chicken curry across the table as it hits the plate. She grabs it quickly, wiping it off with a napkin. Was that the car Zander was in? Who would send this to her? What kind of monster takes a video of a bombing and sends it to the victim's wife? She dials the number immediately. The WhatsApp call fails. She tries a regular call next, but it doesn't even ring. The phone must be off. Emily saves the number and forwards both the video and the contact card to Neil. He can get it to the detective investigating the case. Slowly, she counts to 300 before calling Neil. 5 minutes should be enough time for him to watch the clip. He picks up immediately.
Did you see it?
She blurts. Her voice cracks with hysteria, betraying her inner turmoil. Silence. Seconds tick by. Is she imagining it, or does she hear an announcement in the background?
Neil?
I've already seen it.
He says at last.
It's trending on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter.
Why?
She doesn't finish her question. What's the point of arguing with Neil? He didn't call her when he saw the video. So what? She's seen it now. Some things can't be unseen.
Do you think it was...
The words choke her. It is one thing to imagine your husband dying in an explosion. It is a totally different story to watch it unfold in front of you.
Some people say that it was the same vehicle.
Neil replies.
Molefe hasn't responded yet. I'm waiting for him to call me back.
Do you think the person filming it was the one who planted the car bomb?
It would seem so.
Neil sounds tired.
But let's not speculate. Let's wait for the police to confirm.
What kind of monster does something like that?
A sick-in-the-head one.
Another announcement cuts through the call.
Emily, I have to go.
Okay. I've arranged with Peter to use one of Karis Capital's planes. At what time are you able to fly tomorrow?
Emily swallows hard. She has to fly. Hopefully, a sedative will help calm her nerves. This is the only way to find answers. Neil clears his throat.
Something's come up. I won't be able to go tomorrow. Please give me a day, possibly 2.
What came up?
Irritation seeps through her voice.
Just something. I need to go now.
He exhales sharply through his nose.
Emily, please wait until I'm back. Don't do anything reckless. Please do not go to Botswana by yourself. I'm begging you.
Silence.
Emily.
Promise me.
Emily ends the call without a word. She has no intention of making any promises. Chapter 8. Saturday, April 15th, 2023.
Goodness gracious, my dear.
Nita's arms swing wildly.
You can't sit outside in this weather.
Emily is freezing. Of course she won't admit it. Too stubborn for that. Earlier, she had considered getting up to make a second mug of coffee, but it seemed like too much effort. Now she lay sprawled on the broad rattan bench, gazing at the mountain, simply waiting for another day to pass. Just 4 days ago, her life was perfect. And now she's nothing but a miserable heap of self-pity. The idleness only fuels the chaos raging within her, making it even more unbearable. She knows she needs to find something to occupy her mind, something other than sorting cupboards. Organizing her own was easy enough. Zander's she avoided. And Nita has banned her from the kitchen, especially when she started throwing things out. With too much time on her hands, she pondered endlessly. her mind caught in a loop of overanalyzing every insignificant detail. Is Zander still alive? And where is Neil? Why is he ignoring her calls? Is he dead as well?
Emily,
Nita's voice snaps her back to reality.
it's drizzling.
It's not raining under the patio.
Emily stares at her plum-painted toenails. She should have been on a yacht by now. Somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean with Zander. Laughing, drinking champagne, and sharing kisses. The wind teases the branches of the ancient oak tree while two small birds engage in playful antics beneath it. This morning, their chirping sounds more like noise than cheerful chatter. Nita places her hands on her hips.
And what clever response do you have for the wind?
Emily shrugs. Today, she has no answers, not even a stupid one.
Is Neil still not answering his phone?
Nita motions towards the device that Emily has been clinging to for the past 37 hours. She's called him every hour, but his phone remains switched off. She even contacted his receptionist the previous afternoon, who confirmed that Neil would be out of town for a few days. The fear of facing the unknown on her own keeps Emily from going to Botswana. Just one more fear she'll have to overcome somehow. Emily shakes her head.
My WhatsApp messages haven't gone through either. It's like he's vanished from the face of the earth.
Have you tried calling Blondie?
Ivanka?
Emily clarifies.
Yes, call her.
And say what?
Emily snaps, throwing her hands up in the air.
They've been together for almost a year, and I've barely exchanged 10 words with the woman.
And whose fault is that?
Checkmate Emily. She shoots a silent glance at Nita. No decent comeback comes to mind.
You know I'm not good with people.
Nonsense.
Nita dismisses Emily's words.
You interact with people every single day, listen to their problems, and offer advice.
That's different.
How so? Talking is talking.
How could she possibly explain this to Nita without sounding like she belonged in a mental institution? There's a reason behind her tendency to distance herself. It's a protective shield. Those who dare to get too close to her tend to meet a tragic fate. Not only family, everyone. Even Amelia, her childhood friend from preschool, died at the tender age of 18. And as for Zander, the mere thought of him and Neil is too overwhelming to bear. If she had never agreed to that initial date, would Zander still be alive today? She should have bolted in the opposite direction the moment the lift doors slipped open. But then she would have never known Zander. That English poet had a point when he said, "It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." The past 4 years have been the best years of her life.
Neil is going to marry that girl, and then she will be part of the family.
Nita's voice interrupts her thoughts.
You won't be able to dive and duck her anymore.
Duck and dive. Is there any point in correcting Nita? It's the truth. Emily is, and has always been, avoiding Ivanka.
What do you suggest? Should I invite her for coffee?
That's a start. Today is Saturday. She does not work on weekends. You could call her now to meet later this morning. She might also feel alone with Neil being away. Who knows? She might have had contact with him.
Emily suspects Ivanka is hardly ever alone. With her outgoing personality, she likely has an entire squad of friends. Yet Nita's suggestion strikes a chord. Ivanka might know where Neil is.
Fine.
Emily says with a sigh, though she makes no move to dial the number.
The phone is not going to dial her number on its own. Call her.
Nita orders before retreating indoors. Nita seems determined today, likely fueled by Emily's recent unsanctioned venture into the Tupperware drawer. A little white lie. That's all it would take to sidestep this unpleasant task. I tried calling Ivanka, Nita, but she did not answer. The act itself is easy, but Emily would have to face the consequences, of course. Her list of flaws is already lengthy enough. There is no need to add liar to it. She has always detested lies, and liars even more so. That was another reason Zander had been the perfect partner for her. With him, she always knew exactly where she stood. There were no sweet words, no half-truths, just the naked truth. Always. Her fingers find the green icon. After Neil and Ivanka's relationship had survived the 5th date, Neil had sent her Ivanka's number.
In case you can't reach me.
He teased. And now, that day has arrived. Under what name did she save the number? Ivanka? Neil's girl? The blonde? Emily finds the number stored under Ivanka's name and presses the call button. Sometimes it's better to rip off the Band-Aid instead of procrastinating. The phone buzzes insistently against her ear. Emily pulls the blanket Nita brought her tighter around her shoulders. Although the wind and rain have stopped, it is still chilly.
Emily?
Ivanka sounds hesitant on the phone. Emily can't fault her for that. Her boyfriend's sister has not exactly shown any affection towards her up to this point.
What's the matter?
Naturally, this would be Ivanka's first response. Emily wants to ask about Neil's whereabouts immediately, but hesitates. The photo of Ivanka on Neil's desk flashes through her mind. Nita is probably right. It seems like Neil is serious about this relationship. She knows she needs to make more of an effort, especially since Ivanka will soon be part of the family. Emily has never been rude to Ivanka or any of Neil's other girlfriends, but one-word answers don't exactly keep the conversation flowing either.
How are you? Fine.
Ivanka replies. Hesitation is still audible in her voice. It's now or never.
There's a cute new coffee shop, Coffeeholic. It's just around the corner from us. Would you like to join me for a coffee? Or perhaps a cappuccino or tea?
Emily quickly adds. Ivanka might not even be a coffee drinker. She seems like someone who might prefer skim milk and decaf. How could she know so little about the woman who had been in her brother's life for almost a year?
Sounds great.
Restraint gives way to excitement.
When would you like to go?
Emily glances at her watch. It's 8 o'clock. Coffee shops typically open early. Hopefully, the journalists camping outside her gate will sleep in on the weekend. If not, she'll have to call an Uber again.
Today. Will 11 suit you?
Perfect. See you soon. Ciao.
And now, she would have to converse with the woman, pretending everything is normal if only for an hour. Chapter 9. Each table and chair is different, made of wood, steel, or cast iron. The owner clearly put a lot of thought into making each seating arrangement unique. Inside the coffee shop, the atmosphere is bustling. Too many people crammed into too little space. Emily's footsteps crunch on the gravel as she follows the waiter outside. Marigolds play hide-and-seek among a myriad of shrubs. She spots the blonde woman at a small table hidden under the canopy of an orange-leaved maple tree. Emily arrived early. Ivanka had been earlier. They might have more in common than just Neil and showing up on time. Upon seeing her, Ivanka stands up.
Emily.
With just 3 quick steps, she's standing in front of her. Without warning, Ivanka wraps her arms around Emily.
I am so sorry about Zander.
Emily mutters a thank you.
I hope you don't mind sitting outside.
Ivanka says.
Inside is a bit too crowded for my liking.
It's perfect here.
Would Neil have mentioned something to Ivanka? How ironic, a psychologist who helps others overcome their fears, struggling with claustrophobia herself.
Can I get you ladies something to drink?
Emily glances up at the waiter. His gaze is warm, yet tinged with a hint of pity. She knows what he sees. The same image that greeted her in the mirror this morning. Pale skin, gray eyes, sunken cheeks, a semblance of the living dead. How could a person look this worn out after just a few days?
Cappuccino?
Emily asks.
Sounds great.
They order cappuccinos and carrot cake. Emily never imagined someone as slender as Ivanka having a sweet tooth. She had also been wrong about the preference for skim milk and decaf coffee. What else might she be wrong about?
This is a quaint little place.
Ivanka's smile is gentle, but her eyes are cautious. Emily can't blame her. Since Neil started dating Ivanka, Emily has never shown more interest than a brief greeting and the obligatory, "How are you?" And now she has invited Ivanka for coffee and cake. If the roles were reversed, she would probably find it strange too. Who is she kidding? She's already feeling uncomfortable. Small talk has never been one of her strengths. Emily has always been a better listener than a conversationalist. Always the observer, never the participant. And yet here she is, forced to engage in conversation, to chit-chat. After all, she was the one who invited the woman for coffee. They can't sit and smile uncomfortably at each other forever. The question is, where should she start?
So,
Ivanka's voice cuts through the silence.
your invitation for coffee quite surprised me.
With Neil being out of town, I thought you might feel alone and want some company. Is that what she is feeling? Alone?
Neil mentioned that there is a possibility that Zander might not have been in the car after all.
Emily's hands suddenly feel idle. She reaches for the white ceramic sugar container and rearranges the sugar sachets. Her hands stiffen as Ivanka's hands fold over hers comfortingly.
I hope so.
Ivanka continues.
Zander is one of the most intelligent people I have ever met. He will find his way back to you wherever he might be now.
A light breeze sweeps through her, settling within her chest. Emily nods, unable to trust her voice. She can't afford to get emotional. Not now. Not here. And certainly not in front of an audience. Emily shifts back in her chair. She needs to steer the conversation away, preferably towards a subject where Ivanka becomes the focus. I hope I didn't wake you this morning.
Not at all. Your call came just at the right moment. Last night I packed the last of my stuff into boxes. My flat is a mess. You can definitely see that I'm moving.
Emily pushes the sugar bowl back to the center of the round table. When are you moving? Neil didn't mention anything about Ivanka moving.
It all happened quite suddenly.
Ivanka explains, her hands animated as she speaks.
The flat that I'm renting has been sold. The new owners are keen to move in as soon as possible, so I have to be out of there by Monday evening.
Wow, that doesn't give you much time. I'm around if you need a hand. She has a talent for wrapping and boxing things, not just earthly possessions. Her speciality is emotions. It's better to keep that particular talent to herself. Now is not the time to make Ivanka wonder whether Neil's only family member is a few fries short of a happy meal.
Thanks for the offer, but I'm basically done packing.
She says with a slight shrug.
Luckily, I don't own too much stuff, just the essentials, really. Once Neil is back, it shouldn't take more than a single trip to move everything over to his place.
Ivanka's fingers fidget with the ends of her pink and white floral scarf, twisting the fabric absent-mindedly.
Neil was the one who suggested that I move in with him. I must admit I'm both excited and nervous. I've never lived with a boyfriend before.
Emily is the last person who can judge. She and Zander had barely been together for 6 months when they moved in together. It was probably the most impulsive decision of her life. But when you're in love, your heart takes the reins, and your brain has to follow. Neil had recently bought a house, a family home. Nita might be onto something. Perhaps Neil is considering settling down with Ivanka. Don't worry, nothing to be nervous about. Emily reassures her. Neil would not have invited you to move in if he did not mean it.
Really?
Yes, I know my brother. A slight smile plays at the corners of Ivanka's lips.
Neil wanted to break the news to you earlier, but it has been a hectic week. Everything happens so fast.
The waiter arrives, interrupting their conversation as he carefully places 2 steaming mugs of frothy coffee and plates laden with cake slices on the table.
We wanted to share the news with you before your yacht trip,
Ivanka's fingers curl around her cup.
but then we heard about Zander, and now Neil is also gone.
Have you spoken with Neil since he left?
Emily finally poses the question that has been weighing on her mind, the one she had hesitated to ask over the phone. Ivanka pulls the plate of carrot cake closer.
Yes, this morning.
This morning?
Neil is alive. She should probably be relieved, yet she cannot ignore the bitter taste of anger in her mouth.
Yeah,
Ivanka mumbles as she scoops a forkful of carrot cake into her mouth. Damn you, Neil. He disregards her like a racer casually ignores the speed limit, yet he answers when Ivanka calls. Exhaling slowly, Emily mutters,
When will he be back?
now isn't the time to lose her composure.
tonight, maybe tomorrow. It all depends on the patient he is seeing.
Patient?
A colleague of Neil contacted him about a patient with a brain injury. It must be serious because Neil took the first flight out. Once he is back.
Emily watches Ivanka's lips move, but the words drift past her. Neil went after a patient, and now he is avoiding her. He has never shunned her. Why now? Especially now. There's only one logical explanation. He's hiding something from her. Something important. Neil is as transparent as a car windscreen on a sunny day. He knows something. Something he wants to keep from her. She can't shake the feeling that his sudden silence has something to do with this patient. Emily forces her attention back to Ivanka. This woman deserves more than just the scattered crumbs of kindness she has offered lately. Throughout the rest of the visit, Emily manages to keep the conversation flowing, but her thoughts linger on Neil and the mysterious patient. Is there a connection between Neil's sudden disappearance and Zander? Chapter 10. Emily wanders through the garden aimlessly. The multicolored snapdragons seem to have turned their backs on her. Even the usually cheerful petunias appear subdued. Only the roses appeal to her, flowerless and thorny. Her phone vibrates in her pocket. Neil. She struggles to tap the green button fast enough, her thoughts racing. Had Ivanka mentioned their morning coffee and cake date? Thankfully, it did not end in disaster.
Where are you?
No, hello, how are you? Straight to the point.
At the airport.
Neil's voice sounds weary. Her anger softens slightly.
Which airport?
Cape Town.
Relieved, she exhales slowly. Neil is nearby and unharmed for now. Just wait until she gets her hands on him. How could he vanish without a word? The questions can wait until later. Right now, all she wants is to see him. To see for herself that he is safe.
Are you home?
Something about his tone is off.
Yes? Why? What's wrong?
We have to talk. It's urgent.
You're scaring me. Does it have anything to do with Zander?
The other end of the line falls silent.
I'll see you soon.
Another pause, as though he's weighing his next words carefully. And then comes the true purpose behind the call.
Emily, please keep an open mind.
11 steps forward. Turn. 11 steps back. Emily stands by the window next to the front door for a moment. She peers out anxiously. Nothing. Still nothing. Where could Neil be? She retrieves her phone from her trouser pocket. It's only been 2 minutes since she last checked. 28 minutes have passed since Neil's call. It's the longest half hour of her life. He should arrive any minute now. A ride from the airport shouldn't take that long. Just half an hour. Surely it can't be more than that. Her stomach tightens into a knot. Neil's silence means something is wrong. An eternity later, she hears the car engine idling in the driveway. Her legs grow heavy as she sinks to the cold marble floor, crossing them. She strains to listen. The engine goes silent. A door closes. Then another. Voices follow, barely audible. Emily's patience wavers, pushing her to her feet. The knocking persists as she swings the door open. Neil's hand hovers in the air, fatigue etching lines around his red eyes. Emily grabs his hand and pulls him inside, drawing him close.
If you ever ignore my calls again, I will break your little toe,
she warns, her arms clenched around him.
I don't know how, but I'll Google and find out.
She steps away to create some distance, but Neil holds onto her hand, refusing to let go.
I had to be sure.
Sure? About what?
Emily frowns.
What are you talking about?
A movement behind them catches her attention. The silhouette edges closer, stepping into the light on the porch. There is something oddly familiar about the figure's movements.
I had to be certain that it was him.